Hello and welcome to a short story book review. Now we are going to be talking about The Boogeyman by Stephen King, which first appeared in Cavalier magazine in March 1973, and then in 1978 it appeared in Night Shift. A short story collection, Stephen King's first short story collection, first of many. And The Boogeyman is a true horror. You know, none of like sci-fi elements, none of this like everyday life. The Boogeyman is a horror, and it is horrific. But you don't really sympathise with the guy who's telling you the story. We start off, this guy is on a therapist's couch, and he tells his therapist that he has killed his 3 children. His 3 children being Denny, Shirl, and Andy. Lester is 28 years old, and he's divorced, rightly so, and he's very uncomfortable being on the therapist's couch because he's very misogynistic. He believes that men should be men and none of this anything else. But he has gone to this therapist. Why he goes to the therapist instead of the police, I don't know. I don't know whether the police just don't believe him or whatever. But he ends up on this therapist's couch because he just has to get it out. He has to tell somebody. He doesn't believe in therapy. He says it's a waste of time. And he doesn't believe that men should need therapy. And that's more of a woman's trouble thing. But this guy needs therapy. He needs more than therapy, but therapy at the bare minimum. And he's laying there on the couch and he's just talking, just sort of outlining the start of this story, when all of a sudden he sits up and clocks that in the therapist's office there is a closet. Now, I think closets are mainly a thing in America. Over here, we don't really have them. Our like wardrobes are sort of furniture. We don't have like walk-in closets or open closet doors. But he clocks the closet and he says, "Can you just open that and make sure there's nothing inside it?" So the therapist says, "Well, yeah, sure." Opens the door, nothing in it but a rain mac and like galoshes under. Closes it, perfectly fine. Why the guy just doesn't leave it open just for his mental state, I don't. Lester keeps saying he wishes someone would believe his story because then he would go to jail and there aren't any closets in jail. This thing would not be able to get to him because jail doesn't have closets. Although he knows he won't be believed, he has never been believed except by his wife, and they are now divorced for good reason. He takes us through his history. So he was married to Rita at 21, she was 18 and pregnant with their first child, Denny. And then he states that the Boogeyman killed all of his 3 children, one by one, and nearly drove his wife insane. Lester is telling the truth. Nobody believes him, but he is telling the truth. And through, this is one of the longer short stories, but through it, it all starts when instead of being in the bed with the parents, the child is put in the room of their own, and in this room there is a closet. Now with the first one, the child starts wetting the bed, they start crying in the night, and Lester is I would say like a typical 50s man, whereas, you know, tough love, child, scared of the dark, won't buy a nightlight, won't buy anything like that. They are just baby, man up, stop crying, go to sleep, the dark isn't scary, etc. And he actually says, "It started when Denny was 2 and Shirl was just an infant. He started crying when Rita put him to bed. We had a 2-bedroom place. Shirl slept in a crib in our room. At first I thought he was crying because he didn't have a bottle to take to bed anymore. Rita said, 'Don't make an issue of it, let it go, let him have it and he'll drop it on his own.' But that's the way kids start off bad. You get permissive with them, spoil them, then they break your heart. Get some girl knocked up, you know, or start shooting dope." And then he goes into all this homophobic rant, which I'm not gonna say, but it fits with his character, something wonderful. "After a while though, when he didn't stop, I started putting him to bed myself. And if he didn't stop crying, I'd give him a whack. And his wife wants to put in a nightlight because the kid is asking for a light. He wouldn't let her. Because if a kid doesn't stop being afraid of the dark when he's little, they'll never stop being afraid of the dark. And the kid dies. So Lester puts him to bed that night and he instantly starts crying the moment his feet hit the crib. He points at the closet and says, 'Boogeyman, Boogeyman. He goes to ask his wife why she's taught him a word like that, and he was tempted to slap her about a bit for it. This man, I swear. The kid starts screaming at 3 a.m. He tells his wife to go look. She starts screaming, and that's when he eventually gets his ass out of bed. And the kid was dead on his back, just as white as flour, except for where the blood had sunk. His eyes were open, wearing diapers and rubber pants because he'd been wetting himself again the last couple of weeks. And Lester notices that the closet door that he had purposefully clicked shut is now open a couple of inches. The kid wouldn't have done it. It's too small, can't reach the handle. But he doesn't say anything, he just sort of files it away. It gets to where they put Shirl, who was in a crib in their room, into that room. And it takes about a year, but when he's putting Shirl to bed, she starts crying and says, "Boogeyman." And he knows exactly what she's saying, but he puts her to bed anyway and turns the light off and goes in his room. She starts crying one night. He sees something in the room, but he sees something slithering in the room. He still files it away and ignores it. And of course, Shirl winds up dead. She chokes on her own tongue. And this time Lester finds her. Rita comes in after her, and she has to go and be sedated at the hospital. And then Lester is complaining that he had to go back to that house on his own. And he says he slept on the couch and he slept with the light on. Such a hypocrite. And then they have another baby, they move house, and for a while everything's alright. But then he says that the atmosphere in the house slowly started to change. He started keeping the lights on in the room. He started checking the closet doors. One night he puts Andy to bed and he says exactly the same thing, but this time Lester is awake and he hears this monster in his child's room. He hears his child screaming and he cowers under the bed sheets and doesn't get up to do anything until the screams reach such a pitch that something kicks in and he runs to the room and sees it. Now, the image in this book the artwork is fantastic, but this is the image that's in this version of Night Shift. Look at the size of that thing. Look at the size of it. And the ending is just perfect. It doesn't wrap up, but it's not really ambiguous either, so I don't really want to give the ending away. But Lester Billings, this main character that is awful. He's a misogynist, he's a hypocrite, he's a racist, he's homophobic, he's awful. And while I feel sorry that 3 children had to die horrifically, it really couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Lester is an awful character, and the thing that is most awful about his character is that there are still people exactly like him that have exactly the same mindset today in 2026, never mind the 1950s, but in this day and age, there are still people who think like that. This man knowingly sacrificed his children to a monster just so that it wouldn't go for him, because he knew the monster would go for the kids because they were weaker. He knowingly sacrificed his children. Maybe not knowingly the first time, but he definitely knowingly did the third. He did it on purpose. It's horrific. It's horrific. There is a movie, I believe, but I haven't watched it because the short story is perfect enough on its own. So if you have read this short story, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I ended up giving this one 4 stars just because it is completely horrific. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and keep reading.